Okay, so we're going to bump it up to 1 amp. I go by current and not voltage because the current is what's flowing through the brine. Since I don't want it to pit, I'm going to keep it relatively low. It's 5 volts at 1.2, but it's already starting to work. Hello everybody, this is Mike with Metal Detecting North Carolina. Since I work with electronics on a daily basis, I decided to go ahead and engineer and build my own electrolysis machine. So the first thing that I did was select my schematic diagram, and I worked on it and game planned it out. And then I went and ordered all the components that I need. And then I got myself a project box. I had to buy a couple different ones to make sure I had the size. And then I cut pieces of paper out for a template. Then I used a knife, drills, and files to cut out all the places where I wanted the components to go. After that, I used a label maker to label everything. The next thing I did was mount all the bulkhead components like the power connector, the binding posts, all the top panel components, and even the fan. Once the fan was installed, I drilled a series of holes to vent the air out. After all the components of the top panel were inserted, I epoxied them in place so they would not move or fall out. I mounted all the components like the voltage regulators and the MOSFET, diodes, and resistors to a small circuit board, and then I started wiring everything together. Once the circuit was completed, I ran some tests to make sure that it worked. This is Rustolysis. I have input voltage, the on-off switch, let you know if the output is on. You can adjust the output voltage, and here's your output voltage and current. This is where the probes go to the clips. I have it hooked up to the multimeter. Input voltage goes here. As soon as the input voltage is plugged in, it lets you know how much input voltage there is. Let me turn the switch on. You can adjust this and it will reflect on the meter here. And then I built a cable for a cigarette lighter adapter so I could use it in the field, and also the probes and the alligator clip leads so I could connect it to the objects that I wanted to remove the grime and rust from. To make the brine solution, I use 2 tablespoons of regular table salt. You can use sea salt, whatever kind works for you. I use a 50-50 mix of white vinegar and tap water. Once you make the mix, you just stir it around until the salt dissolves. Then you pour it into a plastic container. So the first object we're going to clean is this lock plate escutcheon that I found. It appears to be brass. So since electricity flows from negative to positive, you want to connect the negative probe to the object and the positive probe to some kind of sacrificial metal, and then drop it in the water, or drop it into the brine solution. Your sacrificial metal can be anything from a nail to a piece of aluminum to a piece of stainless steel, whatever. This case I just used a crumpled up piece of copper wire, and that way the clip won't get eaten away. And also I attached it to the object itself. You want to make sure they're both immersed and they're not touching. And now I turn this on. I'll go up to about, I'll go up to 5 volts, 5.5 volts. Right now 1.3 amps is going through. and you can already see it's starting to work. So if you take a closer look at the copper, it's already starting, the current is flowing through the liquid, and the higher current you got, the faster it's going to work, but also the more pitting you risk. So since there's about 1.4 amps, I'm going to drop it down to about 1 amp. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but already after a minute or so, it's already working pretty good. Okay, so it's probably been about 15-20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. Take a look at it. It's got all this black stuff on it. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up with a toothbrush and some dishwashing soap and see how it looks. Turned out pretty nice after only 15 minutes. This is a find from one of my previous videos when me and Craig went to a park. This went on the glove box of a Diamond T pickup truck. It's brass, so I'm going to clean it up and see how it looks afterwards. Here's the before shot. Okay, so we're going to bump it up to 1 amp. I go by current and not voltage because the current is what's flowing through the brine. Since I don't want it to pit, I'm going to keep it relatively low. It's 5 volts at 1.2, but it's already starting to work.